Morning, good afternoon, and good evening to some of you. It's great to be here for the sixth and final webinar in the Summer Exchange program with EarthRanger and the Snow Leopard Network. So I'm Tony Lynam, a partnership manager for EarthRanger in Asia and Oceania, and I'm delighted to be with you to deliver our last webinar of the series, which is going to be about site management. And a little bit of background for those of you who weren't on the, the previous sessions. We've had 5 webinars that have covered a range of topics about EarthRanger and integrated technologies and how we use these for conservation. And we had initially around 63 people signed up from the Snow Leopard Network and partners around the world. And each time that we've had our webinar, we've had about 40 of you on the call, and we've had a great exchange of learning. We've learned from you, and we hope that you've learned something from us too. And for our final webinar of the series, we're going to talk about a topic of great interest, which is how we use EarthRanger as a platform for managing our conservation operations. And the presenters today, so Byra, who you know, and Flavia, who's also on the call from Snow Leopard Network. We have 2 guest speakers. We're very lucky to have Dr. Niels Mogensen from Kenya Wildlife Trust and Niet Lon from Rising Phoenix in Cambodia. They're here to present about how they're using EarthRanger and other integrated technologies for their conservation. And we also have myself and I believe Elian Adams, who is on the call today. We're your presenters and organizers. So it's great to be with you. So I'm going to tell you about the agenda for today. So we initially sent you a message saying site-based operations. So I've actually changed that title a little bit to conservation operations. And we're going to talk about protection and anti-poaching, but also about, in general, how we do operations and conservation operations. I'm going to talk about the topic. I'm going to introduce the topic. Then we're going to have Niels, who's going to talk to us about the work in Kenya, and then Niet, who's going to talk about the work in Cambodia, and then we'll go on to talk about how we actually used EarthRanger for patrol planning and analysis. And then we're going to finish off with talking about the future. We're going to talk about a really exciting new alliance called the SMART EarthRanger Conservation Alliance. So that's our agenda for today. And just to remind you, if you have any questions during the session, please type them into the chat here and somebody will get back to you and respond. So yeah, so I'm going to open up the topic, conservation operations management. So many of you are working with big cats, especially snow leopards, but some of you are working on other cats, leopards, lions, tigers, and other focal species around the world. And how do we use the EarthRanger platform to manage the conservation work that you're doing? So that's the topic of today. And I wanted to just start by giving you a kind of an overview about one perspective of how site-based operations can be done using EarthRanger. And this is the video that I'm going to show you is really a little bit focused on the site-based operations, anti-poaching and protection. So I'm going to play that video for you right now.
At any moment, a situation can arise that requires immediate action. An audio trap has picked up the sound of a chainsaw. Or a camera trap has identified a potential poacher breaching the area. From an instant alert in EarthRanger, the command center identifies a breach that warrants the rerouting of a nearby ranger patrol. They are patrolling a known area with a high rate of snares, traps, and spoor prints. Back at the command center, the alert is added to the ranger's current patrol for investigation. While rangers are closing in on a target, they are safely communicating their status with the operations room through two-way messaging, remaining in contact without audibly revealing their position to intruders. And in pursuit, if a suspect escapes into a neighboring site using EarthRanger, with the ability to share information, protected area borders don't stand in the way of apprehending the suspect. Meanwhile, EarthRanger has detected that a rhino has not been moving and alerts the operations room of the high priority situation. Seeing the whereabouts of rangers and assets in one place, the closest team is rapidly deployed to respond. Rangers find the animal is safe, but they locate a line of snares nearby and remove them. They record the event on their phone, making the information available for future patrol planning. With the ability to have a bird's eye view, the next situation that arises can be met proactively, increasing security for your area, your community, your rangers, and your wildlife.
All right. So we've just heard about how one type of operation can be managed, and that's the types of operations that are done in East Africa. And let's talk about EarthRanger as a platform for running conservation operations. So you can be focused on site-based protection and conservation and anti-poaching, but in more general terms, you can also support all of your conservation activities, your surveys, your human-wildlife conflict monitoring, working with communities. All of these activities can be brought together under the EarthRanger platform. And that's because EarthRanger allows you to see a dashboard where you can see all of your data sources coming together. So what we're seeing here is the example of tracking animals that have GPS collars, rangers that are using the EarthRanger mobile app or using inReach devices, and we can see what is happening in real time. We can also see what's happened in the past by moving the slider button at the bottom of the page backwards and forwards. So we can see how events have happened, and we can go back and see how things started, and we can get insights on what is happening. We can see the trends and patterns. We can create heat maps to see where animals have been moving, where ranger teams have been moving, where patrols have been happening, and we can explore what's driving individual actions. So that's why EarthRanger is a great tool because we get this real-time visualization. Yeah, so let's open it up to you. What kinds of operations does your site run? Think about security, think about anti-poaching, but also think about things like human-wildlife conflict monitoring, surveys, ecological monitoring. Can you type into the chat what are the kinds of conservation operations that are happening at your site? Ecological monitoring, surveys, yep. Ecological monitoring of habituated animals, okay. Livestock depredation, human wolf conflict, okay. Cambodia biodiversity monitoring and tracking, yes, thanks, Niet. HWC monitoring, great. So many of you are reporting that you're doing ecological monitoring, surveys, human wildlife conflicts. Is anybody managing patrol operations at your site? Or are those operations happening? Not currently, okay. HWC monitoring, ecological monitoring. Great. Okay, excellent. Now, the second question is, what kinds of assets are you tracking? So you're running these operations. What kinds of things are you wanting to see in real time that you're tracking? And these things could be collared animals with GPS collars. They could be ranger teams. They could be vehicles. What kinds of things are you tracking? So Niet is tracking patrols, vultures and field teams. Okay, great. So you have tags on your vultures. I think you have ornitella tags on your vultures in Cambodia, and you have field teams with ER mobile, direct and indirect signs. Excellent. Okay. Preventative measures like fences if they work well. Okay, excellent. Good. So these are the kinds of things that we need to think about if we're going to bring into EarthRanger. And so what we're going to hear next is we're going to have a presentation that's going to tell us about these kinds of things in the context of doing conservation in East Africa. And it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Niels Mogensen, who's a senior program scientist at the Mara Predator Conservation Program at the Kenya Wildlife Trust. And Niels, I'm going to hand over to you now to continue the presentation.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Tony. So my name is Niels, and I am employed by Kenya Wildlife Trust, which is a small, still, well, it is a small trust, a conservation trust charity organization in Kenya, and they run the Mara Predator Conservation Program, and I head up the research and monitoring side of the program. And yeah, I'm just gonna quickly go through what we do, who we are. So for us, it's all about predators, monitoring of predators, and our focus species have always been lions and cheetahs, but we also monitor other predators such as hyenas and wild dogs when they show up. People, we have a community program, and they work closely with the local community. And then the last pillar, or the three pillars, is partnerships, where we're trying to work alongside other stakeholders. And oops, yeah, so as I mentioned, I head up the research side, where it's about scientific research, and there's a community team, which I mentioned, work with the community, and our research findings often feed into the community side. And then we have a livelihood part of the program where we try to support local livelihoods. So just want to show you our study area. So we are in Kenya, and we are in the southwestern part of Kenya in a place called the Masai Mara. So this is the Mara ecosystem, which is part of the greater Serengeti Mara ecosystem. So we have Tanzania to the south, the Serengeti National Park, and then we have the National Reserve here. Can you guys see my cursor? Yeah, great. So this is the Mara National Reserve, which includes the Mara Triangle here to the west. So this is a fully protected reserve. And then north and northeast of the National Reserve, we have these wildlife conservancies, which are privately managed. So you can see the names of each of these conservancies. So they are, very briefly put, this is land set aside by Maasai landowners who lease their land to tourism operators for wildlife viewing. And that means when they lease the land, they cannot live there anymore. They move out, and then they get a monthly income for leasing out their land. So tourism come in and they give you wildlife, and then the benefits go to the community. And then there are these polygons here I'm pointing at now. These are what we call our line ambassadors, or now we call them predator ambassador zones. And each zone has one employee of Kenya Wildlife Trust, and he patrols this area on a weekly basis, or has his own zone to patrol. And you can you can also call them community scouts, but we call them for predator ambassadors, which are really important to our work. So this is basically our our study area, right? We drive in the National Reserve and the conservancies, and then our ambassadors are patrolling these areas on foot. Yeah, so this is our system, our study area, and most of you might have heard about this area. It's very famous for a place to come for tourists, and it has the highest lion population in Kenya. So around a third of all lions in Kenya are in this system. And then the system is hugely important buffer to the Serengeti National Park. Right. So EarthRanger, and the one main reason why we started EarthRanger was because we have been collaring lions for quite some time before we started EarthRanger, and we lost quite a few individuals to human-wildlife conflict. And I think it was in 2022 where we had only 5 adult female lions collared, and 2 of these 5 died in conflict, human-wildlife conflict. And because 2 out of 5 died in conflict, that kind of tells us, or told us at that time, that probably a lot more lions were being killed than we were aware of, right? So I thought, okay, well, how can we go from documenting mortalities and doing post-mortality conservation work to doing real-time conservation work? How do we try and stop these lions from being killed in the first place? And that's when we started getting about EarthRanger, and then EarthRanger was a really good platform to do this, and linking these lion collars to our ambassadors, our predator ambassadors. So that's how it kind of started. And so you see here again, our system, and then this is a bit messy, but this is just all our subjects, or most of our subjects put on the map from EarthRanger. And then there's one track. This is actually a dispersing male cheetah, because we also put collars on cheetahs. So like right here with the point, one of the points is just a centralized data management platform for monitoring predators, and our ambassadors in the zones, and the collars and livestock tags. So we also put ear tags, GPS ear tags on cattle, and we're going to put GPS tags on sheep as well. And they're all put on the EarthRanger platform. And so yeah, it gives us a really good opportunity to monitor what's going on in real time. And that's, I think, the beauty of EarthRanger, is to be able to look at this. Yeah, so I've also had, just going through the points, tagging livestock, and we're responding to alerts because we've geofenced the area. So I'll get back to this later, but when our colored subjects leave the protected areas, we get alerts, and our ambassadors get alerts, and they can respond. Brilliant for visualizing, yeah, and also pulling out data to analyze, and so forth. And then also it's really good at collaborating with other stakeholders, doing an EarthRanger to EarthRanger sharing, which we're doing quite a lot. And we recently tagged 3 lions in the National Reserve with collars, and that's a collaboration with the county, the Narok County, who control the reserve. So we're both viewing the collar data via this kind of sharing. So that's the web-based. Then we have our mobile-based EarthRanger. So our ambassadors in the field have the EarthRanger app on their phones, and they collect data. So they collect a lot of conflict data when they patrol the zones. They collect data on settlements, on fences, and really important for me, especially, is when they respond to these alerts that the collar give when they cross the geofences. And I'll get back to a case study in a bit. And then we also use them to collect surveys in the field. So this is one of our case studies. So as I mentioned, we put tags on ear tags on cattle, and then we have our lion collars. And this is in here, this is the National Reserve. And then out here, this is the community land, or where we have these ambassadors. And then this here is one of the conservancies you can just see sticking down. So here what I'm pointing at is ear tag cattle, and you have straight lines mostly because the resolution is not as great as for lions. So every 6 hours we get a point. we're working on trying to get tags, better tags that can give us more real-time data. But and then we have these line colors. You can see where the tracks there's hourly resolution, and but you can see how these guys, the cows and lions, they overlap in space, and they also overlap in time. And this is the National Reserve, right? So we have some illegal cattle incursions into the National Reserve where they're in theory not allowed. And yeah, there's lots of lines there, so potential for a lot of conflict. So this is both, we have inside the reserve, but we also have obviously cows that are grazing where they should be outside the protected areas, where we also have lines that spill out, especially at night. So we can try to be on top of what's happening and try to prevent conflicts by alerting these ambassadors that then talk to the community about where they have their livestock and so forth. And here we have two cheetahs that are collared, dispersing male cheetahs, because we want to understand their movement, their dispersal, where they go, and try to keep them alive when they disperse. So one of them has dispersed from our system into the Serengeti National Park, and that's really good for him because that's where he's safe, right? So that was a successful dispersal, and then the collar dropped off in the Serengeti, and we were able to get the collar back to us. So that collar has come off. So this is a really super tool to visualize this kind of data, right? And then we have the cheetah in blue, which is currently still on, and he left the system a month ago or so, and then he's gone east, which is super interesting because we're always wondering if there is kind of a cheetah population to the east of the system. And since he's going there and just moving north and south for the moment, could tell us that there might be other cheetahs in that area. So this is a really good excuse or justification for us to try and get some funding to go to that area and test it out with camera traps, for example. So again, really, really cool to look at these movements in real time. And yeah, so here's another example of what we're using EarthRanger for. So like I mentioned before, our ambassadors, they get alerts when our subjects, our color subjects, they leave the protected areas, right? So we have it's not shown here, but we have a 1 kilometer buffer zone around the protected area borders. So when the color passes this 1 kilometer or the geofence, then we get alerts. And so the green dot here is in the middle of one of these zones, predator zones. And then there are, in this case here, in this zone here, there's 10 greedy zones. So what happens is that when the line, the caller sends out alert is sent to us and also the ambassador. And then he is going to talk to each of these members that are ahead of these committee areas here. And so he tells them basically that a lion is in the area, and he tells them where the lion is. And then if they are close to this area, then they know that they need to be more alert. They need to take their cattle or their livestock different places, and just so they are aware about a danger potentially is coming, a potential danger. In daytime and also at night to really try and keep their livestock safe. Because if we prevent the predation from happening, if we prevent a lion from killing a cow, then we're pretty sure that we're not going to have any lions being killed in retaliation. So people are normally completely fine with having dangerous wildlife around, as long as they don't harm their cows, right? So it's a really, really good way to prevent retaliation. If we're unlucky and a lion gets a cow, for example, then because of this real-time information, the pet ambassador will be able to respond quickly to try and mitigate and stop any retaliation from happening. So this is really, really useful for us, and since we started, we've had no lion retaliation taking place. So it's so far it's all good. And this is just an example of the alerts we're getting from the different colored lines when they breach the geofences, right? So this is just basically showing some of these colors are passing a lot, and we're getting a lot of alerts, and the ambassadors are getting a lot of alerts, so they have a lot of work to do. So that was just a very brief presentation of what we use EarthRanger for. And yeah, it is just we're really happy with the way it works, and it's super valuable to us. There's also my last story. What I want to tell you guys is that we also use something called Ecoscope as a platform to analyze data. So Ecoscope can easily pull data out from EarthRanger, and then we can analyze all sorts of stuff we want to analyze. This is down here is showing a net square displacement from one of the collared cheetahs. So you can see when he started to really move away from the system. And we can, as you've also seen before, we can create heat maps and home ranges, etc. So so besides all this visualization and real-time response and so forth, we can also use the data collected and analyze it. And there's a really good framework to doing that. It's called Ecoscope. So that was my short story on how we use EarthRanger.
Fantastic, Niels. That's a really great example of how you're doing real-time conservation and using all the tools in the EarthRanger toolkit to protect the wildlife and to protect people too. And we've actually talked about these tools in previous sessions. We talked about alerts, and we talked about geofences in the previous session. So this is really relevant to us all. Thanks for a great presentation. There's a question in the chat. Are protected areas separated from other areas where livestock can be present? For example, by fencing? And what about private game reserves?
Yeah, so there's no fence between there's no wildlife fence, but we have a lot of most landowners, they fence their plots, right? So we have many small fences, and often we have back-to-back fences, so it creates a barrier. But there's still a lot of areas that are not fenced. So there is free movement from the protected areas to the community areas. But a lot of the corridors are being blocked because of these back-to-back fences. And there's like a wildebeest local migration that used to go from these protected areas northeast, which is completely collapsed because of the fences. What about private game reserves? Well, I guess you can call some of these conservancies semi-private, but they're still so the conservancies allow for cattle grazing to take place, managed cattle grazing during the daytime, and then they go out at night. And I recently published a paper looking at the effects of cattle presence in daytime for lions, but so they're not fenced, and they're not completely private and excluding livestock. And then there's a question here: the difference, is using EarthRanger Ecoscope. We are able to be on top of what's happening in real time, and that's the point of EarthRanger. So we are seeing a difference in number of livestock that are being taken, and a much lower Lyme or predator mortality. So and a much closer collaboration with the community, because these predator ambassadors are local Maasai, right? They are part of that community, and they're from that zone where they patrol. So the collaboration and the trust has really been built after we've started this EarthRanger work. And Ecoscope, that's just a really easy way to pull data and analyze it quickly. You pull data and then you press a few buttons, right? And then you get outputs. So these outputs can easily be used for reports, etc. So that's super helpful for us. And And when the fences are crossed, yeah, so that's when these alerts are being sent to our ambassadors, and then they respond in real time, to put it short. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Niels. That's a great example of using all the tools available in the EarthRanger toolkit, all the way from data collection, EarthRanger Mobile, geofences, and Ecoscope. A fantastic presentation. Thanks very much, and I hope that participants, you've taken notice, because it's a great example of how you can bring all your data sources together in one place. Thank you. Thanks, Niels.
Yeah, pleasure.
Great. I'd now like to introduce our second guest speaker, Nhiet Lon from Rising Phoenix. She's going to give us a presentation about how Rising Phoenix is using EarthRanger and SMART at their site, which is actually being called the Serengeti of Southeast Asia. It's a site, a very amazing landscape in eastern Cambodia. So, Nhiet, would you like to take the
Hi,
stage?
good evening, everyone. So I am Nhiet from Rising Phoenix, Simpang Wildlife Sanctuary, Cambodia. So today I would like to share about the integrating between SMART and EarthRanger in our site. So before moving to the SMART and EarthRanger, I want to introduce briefly about our site. Is the Simpang Wildlife Sanctuary. They're located in the northern part of Cambodia in Stung Treng province, and it's the coverage area about the more than 106,000 hectares. And this place is the place that is the home of the critical endangered bird species, including vulture, ibis, and other mammals, including banteng, gaur, SD, and other important mammals. So, in order to manage the protected area, we think about how the technology can support us to protect it, our site very well. So, we start using the SMART in 2014. Then the first start we use like the GPS, the paper recorded, and then entering in the smart desktop. And then in 2021 we start using the EarthRanger, but by that time we just synchronize between the Smart Connect and EarthRanger. So now, start in last month, June, we start moving from Smart Mobile to EarthRanger Mobile. So we use this tool to tracking all the device of the mobile in the field. So we have 3 field team that currently use is the law enforcement team, mostly from the DOE Ranger and the Royal Gendarmerie, and other team is the community ranger, is our staff from Rising Phoenix, and biodiversity monitoring team is our staff as well. So in this picture is the workflow of our work daily, every day. It's the thing that I put the SMART is because we just moved from the last month, so everything is still the same. So first start with the patrol. So everything we start in patrol. So the team before go to the field, they have to have a patrol plan. They create a patrol plan and assign the team which place that they go. And then they go to the field, they record all the track, GPS, observation, threat, and other information related to the field. And they use the EarthRanger mobile, so everything is automatically uploaded to the EarthRanger web. And then when they come back from the field, the management team have the patrol debrief with them, do the report, and then make another plan for the next move. So everything it becomes the circle like that. And this is our EarthRanger web. Currently we use this platform. We can see the device of our team, like all the device and all the report they created during they are the field. And this also some of the bird that we put the color as well. So we have created the database for them, like we create because our field cannot read English, so we created even for them to command English so they can enter the data by the field correctly. So besides from our patrol base, we also use the EarthRanger integrate with the GSM tracker to track our watcher. So it's similar to the last presentation as well. This tracker is provided by the Orienti tracker. So the purpose of we doing this is to monitor the movement of the vulture, and we want to protect the vulture when they consuming outside of our protected area. So the first study, if the vulture is going outside of our protected area, it will generate the alert to us. So when we receive alert, we can identify the alert, and then we can send the team to the field immediately and take the action. So in our condition, here is the picture that our team said take the tracker, and here is the movement of the vulture. The idea of we set the alert, like you see in the bird of the vulture here, and this is the wildlife sanctuary. So it means that if the vulture is here outside the protected area, or not in this place, is the roosting, and this place is the vulture restaurant. So it's beside from this part, when the watcher is grouped together more than 3 birds, so it will generate alert and send it to the operation room. So the operation room can be checked and can be reported to the team, can take the action immediately. That we want to verify that we want to make sure that the watcher cannot fit the outside, the carcass outside, that might be the poison can be affect to the watcher. So yeah, so it's we see the improvement of the EarthRanger that we recently used. We can see the better communication between the field team and the management team, because we have the operation room, so the team can see everything in the field. If anything happen, the management team can take report to each other, and the data quality is more better, the centralized. Now we have 3 teams together that report into one platform together. So all the information are sharing, which team that want information, they can query and they can use it, the data. And it's faster in real time. So when the team are in the field, they can report to us anytime, and it will upload automatically to our ranger or our EarthRanger web. So yeah, that's all for my presentation. And once again, thank you for the EarthRanger team, the support for making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Niet. That was a really interesting presentation about a really incredible landscape in Asia, one of the most biodiverse that is out there. And you've got a great project there. Really, really nice example of how the platform is being used to manage information. One question that I had for you, Niet, and we also have on the call Romain Legrand from the Rising Phoenix project. A question for you about the vulture data. So the vulture tracking data, can you identify clusters from the vulture tracking data? And do the clusters do they tell you where there might be poaching happening? Is that something that you're able to do with the vulture data?
We do that is to monitor the cluster, is we want to prevent them to feeding on the outside carcass that not from our water restaurant. So we want to prevent that. If they feed outside, might be the carcass must be dead from the poisoning, something like that.
Okay. And that's a great example of how you're integrating these two different systems too. So maybe could you explain a little bit more about how you can see the smart patrol data in EarthRanger?
Uh, when we do the smart patrol, we do in the smart connect. Well, the first thing is we use the smart mobile and more complicated. The smart mobile, and then we upload it to the smart desktop, and then synchronize to the smart connect, and then when we synchronize to the smart connect, it's automatically will see in the EarthRanger web. So it take time.
Great. So you're able to see the events from Smart in EarthRanger. It's a great example of how you can actually integrate your data sources.
Yep.
One question from Bozo. Did you notice that vultures mainly use the protected area, or are they going outside it? I'm asking in terms of the location of the protected area, if the location is efficient for the vultures. Yeah, so how much time do the vultures spend outside of the protected area?
That almost every day they move in, move out between the nesting site and to the vulture restaurant.
Okay, that's great. And the vulture restaurants, these are special places where you provision a carcass for the vultures and you feed them, yeah?
Yep.
And how often do you do the vulture provisioning, the carcass, the vulture restaurants?
We do 4 times a month.
Oh,
One
okay.
buffalo per time.
Yep. Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Nia. That's really excellent. That's a really great example of how you're using the technology for conservation. Thanks so much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to now move on to talking a little bit about the mechanics of how we use EarthRanger for patrol management. So we heard some great stories just now from the Mara and from Western Siampang about how teams are monitoring their animals and how they're monitoring what happens to the animals and interactions between animals and people. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the actual management of how things happen in the context of patrolling. So one of the tools that EarthRanger was set up to do is to do what we call patrol management. So patrols happen when somebody goes out and does a patrol. It could be a patrol along a fence boundary, or it could be an anti-poaching patrol, or it could be an investigation. And here's how the data looks. So patrols appear in the EarthRanger web platform. And if you click on the little patrols icon, you'll get a list of the patrols that have happened and patrols that are active, patrols that are scheduled, patrols that have been completed. So if you're doing security management, if you're doing patrolling management, then you can actually plan where your patrols should go. And one of the things that you can do with EarthRanger is to use historical events and reports to plan where patrols need to go. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this. So Nels mentioned that he's using Ecoscope as a tool for analyzing data and for doing quick summaries of data. And I think it was week 4 when Yuan Wu came and presented about how patrols can be summarized using Ecoscope. And this is a slide from her presentation. So in Ecoscope, you can do analyses of data. You can do summaries of where patrol efforts were made, and you can see where the patrols happened. So in this slide here, we see on the left-hand side, we see the events, the different subjects that were being tracked, so ranger teams, where those teams were. In the middle, you can see the time spent in the landscape where patrolling happened. We can see places that didn't get any patrolling. We can see places where there was a lot of patrolling done. And then we can also see the encounter rate of things that happen. So encounters with snares, encounters with poachers, encounters with signs of illegal activity. So these are the kinds of visualizations that you can get from Ecoscope. So Ecoscope pulls the data from EarthRanger and then allows you to see what's happened. So from these kinds of visualizations, you can actually plan where to put your patrols in the next month or the next time period. And you can also use information on where human-wildlife conflict has occurred. And here's an example of a real analysis of data from East Africa, looking at places where human-wildlife conflict had occurred, places where there was conflict, and the numbers of events in the bottom right-hand corner. So using this kind of information, we can then plan patrols to go and address these issues. The other thing that we can do is we can take other types of information that are coming to us from external data sources, such as deforestation and fire alerts. And these kinds of things can be captured from Global Forest Watch. So Global Forest Watch is a tool, it's an open source tool, it's free data that allows you to know where deforestation has happened, where there's been changes in the forest cover, where fire is occurring, and the data is quite close to real time. So using the information from this system-generated events, you can actually then say, okay, I'm going to send out a patrol team to go and investigate this alert and see what's happening out there. We can also use information from patrols that happened in the past time period. So, for example, maybe a patrol team goes out and they record an instance of mining, and they want to follow up on that by sending out a team to check on what's going on. So, user-generated events, these are places where somebody went to a site and they detected something was happening and they recorded it. So these kinds of events can also can be used to motivate a patrol. So using the information from EarthRanger, we can then task a patrol team to go out and investigate. And this is an example from the second webinar where you all went out and ran patrols. So this is just a screen capture from the second week where you went out and you did patrols, and we see where each of you was concentrating your effort. So this is a heat map for each of the rangers, each of you who went out, and we can see where you went to, and we can also see where you didn't go to. So from these kinds of visualizations, we can see where patrol effort has been thinned. We can see where events are clustering, and we can see where there's not been much effort, but there's clustering of events. These can be targets for the next patrol. And this is how we use EarthRanger as an operations tool. So how can we actually task a patrol to happen? So imagine you're the operations manager. You can send out a patrol based upon a specific need at a site. So, for example, following up on a report of an interaction between a lion and a village, or a poaching incident that might have occurred. So there's a couple of different ways in which we can task a patrol as the manager. First of all, from the web platform, we can create a patrol, and we can do this manually, and we can set up a patrol that needs to be done by a ranger team. We can assign a ranger team. We can even assign the start time and the end time, and we can drop a pin on the map where that patrol should happen. So this is something that the operations manager can do in the web platform. But the other thing is we can make it interactive. The operations manager can create a point of interest event. So he or she can make an event, create an event in the platform, make it a point of interest, and then fill in some information about the point of interest. So it can be, for example, in the comments, you can write start a patrol here. So once that event has been created, it will appear in the EarthRanger platform, and then a mobile user who's in the field can then see that point of interest, and then the mobile team can navigate to that point and then start a patrol. And so when a patrol happens, this is what happens. This is the process. The team goes out and starts a patrol and uses the EarthRanger mobile device to start the patrol, and then turn on the patrol, start the patrol, enter the patrol details, and then the patrol is done, and you can capture the route of the patrol. You can add events along the way, recording things that you see during the patrol, and then you can end the patrol and sync the patrol back to the server. And so this is just an example of how EarthRanger Mobile looks. And in the second webinar, we actually learnt about how EarthRanger Mobile looks and how you can create a patrol and record a patrol. And this is just an example of what it looks like. Yeah, the other thing that I wanted to tell you about is that we can use two-way messaging with teams. We can actually communicate using the EarthRanger platform using inReach. And inReach is a Garmin device. It's a satellite communication device. And if you integrate your device with EarthRanger, you can then communicate back and forth between the operations manager and the field via two-way messaging. This is really cool. So imagine the ranger is out there, Ranger Maria is out there in the field, and she has her inReach device turned on. From the platform, sitting back in the ops room, the manager can type a message and send it to Ranger Maria, and she can receive it. Even if she's offline, she can still receive that via the satellite network, the Iridium network. And she can see the message, and then she can also respond back to that message. So this is a really very, very useful way of tracking your teams in the field and knowing where they are. You can also use this as a way to ensure the safety and the welfare of your teams, and make sure that they're out there and that they are doing their jobs, but also that they're safe. So it's a really useful functionality, and this is something that we can set up for you if you're interested. And if you have an inReach device, we can easily set this up as an integration with EarthRanger. Yeah, so the other thing that we can do once we have started to collect patrols is that we can see the patrols from the platform. And here's an example of a patrol that is in the process of being done. So it's an active patrol, and it's color-coded blue. So if the patrol is in progress, this is the kind of thing that we'll see. We'll see the track log, and we'll see events that might be recorded by the teams. We'll see those appearing in the list under the activity window there. So this is an example of an active patrol. We can also see patrols that are scheduled. So you can schedule a patrol from the operations manager from the web platform, and scheduled patrols appear in blue. Patrols that are completed, they're finished, they've been completed by the field teams, they appear as dark gray. And then if there are cancelled patrols, they appear as a light gray. So you can see your patrols from the platform. You can see where they are. You can pin the tracks to the platform, and you can see where things are happening. You can also do messaging, and you can see heat maps. And you can also end or cancel a patrol from the web platform. Yeah, so the other thing is, when you're using EarthRanger, you want to start and end the patrol from the same platform. If you're using a device, you want to start the patrol in the device, and you want to end the patrol in the device. You can also start a patrol from the web platform, and you can end it from the web platform while the ranger team is out there turning on tracking, the track logs that are collected by the field team will be associated with that patrol. So the operations manager can assign a team with a certain name to do a patrol that starts and ends at a certain time, and then anything that is collected by that team can be associated with that patrol. So there's a couple of ways to manage patrols that are done. So I'm just going to show you very quickly the example from our EarthRanger Asia dashboard of how this works. So let me show you really quickly the example. Okay, great. So what we're seeing here is the EarthRanger platform. And here's some observations, some events that were recorded yesterday. I went on patrol yesterday and I recorded a few things. So I found a snare, and I encountered some wildlife, and I saw some snow leopard signs, and I saw livestock depredation. These are the things that I saw yesterday when I was on patrol. So those are things that may be related. So all of these things occurred in this one area. As the operations manager, from the dashboard, I'm able to actually take these events that have appeared and I can make them into an incident. So, for example, an incident might be something where something's happened and you've made a series of observations in the field. So the operations manager can actually take those observations. There we go. So yesterday, I recorded some snow leopard sign, and I recorded all the information there, and I had a photograph of it there. And then what I can do is I can then create an incident. I can add that to a new incident. So I've created an incident. So an incident is a collection of events. So now I've got this new incident, which I'll call Tony's wildlife encounter. There we go. So I've given it a name. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save that. So that's a new incident. And the other thing that I saw was some livestock depredation. So there was a goat that was killed by some animal. We presume it was the snow leopard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that to my incident, to Tony's wildlife encounter. Oh, spelling. Edit that and I'll save it. So now we've got two things that happen. The third thing is this human-wildlife conflict. So I actually ran into the snow leopard. I ran into a sheep that had been injured. So I'm going to also add that into my incident. So there we go. I'm going to add that into the incident, and there's the incident. So what the manager can do is he or she can manage the information that's coming in from the field, can associate events with an incident and create things that can be followed up with. So there's an example of how we do a patrol, we collect some data, and then we can analyze the data. We can group the data into incidents, and then we can analyze that data. And you can see also that this is the location of the patrol, and this is what happened yesterday. I click on that patrol, and I see this is what happened. So I've got the information on where the patrol went, what the patrol saw, and then I can use that information to understand what happened. There's the heat map. That doesn't work very well, I guess, at that scale. There's the tracks, and there's what was seen on that patrol. So the operations manager has a lot of flexibility to look at the events that have been collected and to see what's happened. And if we look at the patrols, we can then look at the patrols that happened in the last few months. And so now I'm just doing a little look at the patrols that happened in our demo database. And we can see there were patrols that happened over the last few months. Let's go to this one, Deer Trail Patrol. So I'm going to go to this one. This is a patrol that was done by Bikash. And let's see where Bikash went to on his patrol. I'm going to jump to that location, and I can see there's the track log from Bikash's patrol. And we see where he did his patrol. Very, very long patrol by the looks of it, Bikash. Maybe that was a patrol by road. Yeah. So the operations manager has available a lot of information. Let's go to another patrol. This is a patrol that was done in a different place. Actually, let's go back to one of the patrols that you guys did. Let's see. Dr. Uzma, who is here with us. And let's see where Dr. Uzma did their patrol. And here's their patrol. And we see some crop damage. So there's a patrol. The information is there, and we see that there was some crop damage. Let's have a look at that. And we've got some information on what was recorded there. So using the EarthRanger platform, the web platform, we can see the data, and we can get visuals on what has happened and where patrols have happened, and we can then manage the data. And if we go to map layers, we can see where all of you have been moving. So imagine we want to keep tabs on our ranges. So we've got Bikash. So let's see where Bikash is right now. So Bikash has been there. And then Priyanka, let's see where Priyanka has been. Priyanka has been there. And let's see Priyanka's patrol. And then we've got Carol's patrol. Let's go and see what Carol did a patrol. Let's see what her patrol was. It's her patrol. This one here. There we go. Yeah, so we can manage the data, and we can manage our subjects that we're tracking. In this case, it's rangers. And we have a lot of functionality available to us from the platform. So that is kind of an overview of how we can use EarthRanger as an operations platform. Do you have any questions? Neat, your question is, can field teams collect multi-events from mobile as incidents? Example, team have encountered different events in the same place. Yes, so you can arrange the data into multi-events. You can do that in the mobile app. So in this case, I was the operations manager bringing in observations manually and adding them to an incident. However, if I was the patroller, I could run a patrol from my device, and then all of the events would appear in that patrol as a multi-event patrol. And for analysis, you can then add those events to an incident. So there's a couple of different ways in which you can manage the data. I hope that answers your question. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to continue on with the last part of the presentation for today. And, you know, we've come a long way over the last few weeks discussing EarthRanger. We began with the introduction to EarthRanger and concepts. We talked about the web platform. We talked about the mobile app. We talked about Ecoscope. We talked about applications for human-wildlife conflict management. And we've talked about operations management. So in the last part of my presentation today, I wanted to tell you about a really amazing new alliance, which is bringing together the communities of SMART and EarthRanger. And many, many years ago, 15 years ago, SMART was released and became publicly available. And it's been used by many hundreds, more than 1,000 sites around the world. EarthRanger has been around for 10 years, and it is now being implemented at around 900 sites almost 1,000 sites. I believe it's 1,000 sites. So there's more than 2,000 sites where SMART and EarthRanger is now being implemented. And the two communities are now joining hands to create what we call the SMART EarthRanger Conservation Alliance. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about looking forward, what is going to happen with SMART and EarthRanger. So SMART has been a global standard for adaptive management for many years, being used at many, many sites around the world. EarthRanger integrates more than 150 devices, used at more than 900 sites in 90 countries, 75,000 users last month. So a lot of people are using these tools. Many of you are using one or the other or both. And some of you may be thinking, well, I'd like to use EarthRanger, but how should I go about that? And some of you may be using SMART and you're like, well, I'd like to take advantage of the EarthRanger functionality, but I'm using SMART. How do we get started? So the SMART EarthRanger Conservation Alliance, or SERCA, was founded recently, and it's actually been a discussion that has been going on for quite some time. So how can we bring together all the different ways in which people are using technologies so that we have one platform, one set of tools available, so we don't duplicate what we're doing, and we make sure that everyone has got support and people are able to use their limited resources in an effective way. So there's a new partnership which includes 9 organizations coming together through what we call SERCA, or the SMART EarthRanger Conservation Alliance. It combines the strengths of SMART and EarthRanger, and the idea is to eliminate duplication and confusion. And it promotes a way of integrating the way that we collect and analyze data to improve conservation. And the idea is to help ensure that technology is working to support the adaptive management of our sites, and that this reflects the real world's needs and operations. So I'm going to show you really quickly what SERCA is going to be doing. It's bringing together more than 2,500 SAP sites around the world in all of the regions, essentially. And there's 41 countries that are using one or the other, SMART or EarthRanger. So the idea is to have one platform and to have a way to seamlessly bring data into one platform so it can be used together, and to ensure that people have the capacity to use these tools, and to make sure that the users are driving the design of the tools so that it meets their needs. So what's happening? So SERCA is going to involve some things that are going to affect the way we do business in the future. So if you're using Smart Desktop, there's going to be a new tool called SERCA Desktop that will replace Smart Desktop. And this means that those sites that are offline only, sites that don't have any connectivity, they're going to be able to use what we call the SERCA Desktop. It's going to be an app that allows you to use to collect data, to analyze data, to manage data on your desktop. Smart Connect, over the next 1 to 2 years, Smart Connect is going to transition, and it's going to transition into what we call SERCA Web. So EarthRanger, which is what we've been talking about over the last 6 weeks, EarthRanger is going to continue to be what it is, and it's going to be rebranded as what we call SERCA Web. So essentially, any EarthRanger users will be able to continue to do what they're doing without much change. It's just going to involve a change in the name from EarthRanger Web to SERCA Web. And those of you who have been using EarthRanger Mobile, that is going to evolve in the same way. It's going to be rebranded as what we call SERCA Mobile. So this is the suite of tools that we're going that's going to be called the SERCA suite. And there's going to be a web app, which is essentially EarthRanger plus some smart functionality, a mobile app that brings together the best features and functionality of both EarthRanger Mobile and Smart Mobile. and a desktop app that is based upon the SMART desktop and offline only tool. Added to that, the other tools that we've talked about, Ecoscope, will continue to be available, and they will allow people, users who are currently using EarthRanger, to continue to analyze their data and create workflows. And there's going to be some other tools that are part of this ecosystem. So we talked about Gundi. We talked about Gundi, which is a tool for integrating external data sources into EarthRanger. So Gundi is going to continue. WPS Watch, we talked about this when we had our presentation on, I think it was week 4, when we talked about camera trapping. WPS Watch, which is a platform that's created by Wildlife Protection Solutions, that will continue to function and to allow users of camera traps to integrate their data into EarthRanger. And Achille is a new tool that's been developed and that will be available for specific purposes. And we'll tell you a little bit more about all of these tools into the future in future meetings and webinars that we have. But that's the ecosystem, and so you'll be able to use these tools to see what's happening at your sites, to see the events occurring in real time, and to get historical visibility in one place. And you'll be able to integrate your sensors. You'll be able to continue to use geofencing and tracking animals, tracking ranger teams, and using camera traps and integrating that data. So this is going to result in more effective ways of doing patrolling and more effective ways of analyzing and summarizing data. And here's a screenshot from the Ecoscope tool that Niels had showed us. And this is going to continue to be a really useful tool for using with EarthRanger data. For operations, which is what we're talking about now, you'll be able to operate and report beyond a single site. You'll be able to share data across sites. We also already have this kind of set up in what we call ER to ER sharing. And Niels mentioned this in his presentation, where you can share data between 2 different EarthRanger deployments. That's going to continue so that you'll be able to effectively share data between users in low connectivity and offline environments as well. So it's going to be a suite of tools that allows conservation to be more effective. And these are the different ways in which you are doing conservation. Many of you are wildlife monitoring important species such as snow leopards and other big cats. Some of you are doing law enforcement. Some of you are doing community engagements and monitoring logistics and assets at sites. Many of you are doing ecological studies, and there's other applications that will be supported with this suite of tools that are coming with the SMART EarthRanger Conservation Alliance. So there's kind of an overview of what's to come. And we're really excited to be able to tell you that these tools are going to be able to support all of you. So anybody who is interested in having these tools, we can support you, and you'll be supported at no cost at all. So that's kind of an overview of the SMART EarthRanger Conservation Alliance, and AI2, the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence, which is the organization that I work for, that has created EarthRanger, as one of the 9 partners, along with these other 9 partners in the SERCA. So that's an overview of SERCA. The last thing I wanted to do is I wanted to thank the Snow Leopard Network for inviting EarthRanger to present this series of 6 webinars. And it's just been a delight to work with you, Byra and Flavia. Thank you so much for all the support that you've provided. And thanks to the Snow Leopard Network for participating and being so engaged. What I'd like to do is to also draw your attention to this QR code. Could you all please scan this QR code? Because what we'd like to do in the last few minutes is ask you to fill in an evaluation of this webinar series. We'd like to get your feedback on how the webinar series has been for you. Has it been useful? What have you learned that's useful? How would you have done things differently? Are there certain things that you really liked? Let's hear what you liked about the series. So please scan this QR code and take a few moments to fill in the evaluation. Great. So just to let you know, if any of you are interested in setting up EarthRanger accounts, I sent an email to the Google group last week. Any of you are interested in setting up EarthRanger, we'd be happy to do that for your project. So please have a look at that email that I sent to the Google group, and we just need you to fill in a site assessment form to tell us how you'd like to use EarthRanger, and we can set up an account for you to use for your conservation project. I'm going to, in the last few minutes, I'm going to hand back to Flavia and Byra to close up the session and the series.
Thank you, Tony. It was such an amazing experience having EarthRanger giving the 6-week training. So this 6 weeks passed so fast. So I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to Dr. Tony Lynam and his team at EarthRanger for these incredible training sessions. For today, Niels Mogensen, Nietloon's presentation was really interesting. And as you all know, that Tony has invited these experts around the world to share their knowledge and experiences in these training sessions, what it makes really valuable and interesting for these training programs. So thank you for all your time and efforts and knowledge and dedication to run this program. So I also wanted to thank for all the participants for your active engagement during these 6 weeks. We hope that the skills and insights gained over these past weeks will support your important work and inspire continued collaboration. So using this opportunity, I also would like to encourage you to sign SLN and SERCA to build more collaboration and to share your knowledge and expertise. So on behalf of Snow Leopard Network and EarthRanger, we wish you every success as you put this learning experience into practice. So please reach out if there is any inquiry you may have following the training. So thank you, everyone, and then all the best to you, and see you next time.